Just when you didn't think it could get any crazier, the Annabelle the doll situation is now off the charts. Hello, my friends. This is Nefer Kefri, and I've got some news for you. If you haven't read this on the internet already, TMZ broke the story. The Warrens' home, Ed and Lorraine Warren, was up for sale. Their daughter, Judy Spera, had inherited the home from her parents. She's married to Tony Spera. Tony Spera is the individual who organized the Annabelle the Doll tour. That went to Gettysburg, and unfortunately it is in Gettysburg where Annabelle's handler, Dan Rivera, passed away mysteriously in his hotel room. And the coroner now states it was of natural causes. So their house was up for sale. I was unaware of this. Not that I, pay attention to their business or anything, but I figured I would have heard about it through the grapevine at some point, but I heard nothing. Their house was up for sale. It has now been sold to two individuals. Elton Castee and his good friend, you may have heard of his friend, comedian Matt Rife. Not only that, it gets better, my friends. It just, I mean, you can't make this stuff up. Matt Rife has been made the caretaker for Ed and Lorraine's Occult Museum and the Annabelle doll for the next 5 years. He and his friend Elton will, they're planning, according to Matt Rife, to open the Warrens' home at some point as basically like a bed and breakfast type situation where paranormal enthusiasts and investigators can go to the home, stay a number of nights, and carry out investigations within the home and within the Occult Museum. So they are attempting to turn this into a major business enterprise because Annabelle will soon be coming home if she's not home already. And as far as I've been able to glean from online sources I have researched, as of this moment, Matt Rife and his friend Elton have no interest in touring Annabelle again, but they are going to be setting up the home for overnight visitors, paranormal investigators. So this supposed possessed demonic object is going to be exposed to the energy of even more individuals. This was never Ed and Lorraine's intention for the doll. Not that I knew them, I never met them, but they went on many lecture circuits themselves. If they had wanted Annabelle to be out among the public, don't you think they would have been taking that doll with them everywhere that they went? Because my gosh, what a cash cow Annabelle could be. And I would assume the Warrens were astute enough in a business sense to realize that. So you would think they'd be taking that doll everywhere, but they never did. And Lorraine herself specified, and it is on record as saying, she was afraid of that doll. And now we have a comedian who owns the home and the Occult Museum and Annabelle the doll. Now, from what else I've been able to glean from news sources, Matt Rife has a background in paranormal investigation. Now, how far back that paranormal investigative history goes and the degree of his paranormal expertise, I have no idea. I've not been able to find information on that. If you have information on that and have a link to it, please post it below so I can check it out, because I would really like to know. Because at this point, my main concern now is that we've got people in charge of Annabelle who are most likely not equipped to deal with this type of object. Look at what happened on the tour, for crying out loud. A man died. Now, the coroner says it was natural causes. Okay, fine. Because if it were a paranormal cause, would the doll leave little fingerprints or something? Of course not. The whole issue with paranormal evidence is that it's so hard to capture. It's difficult to capture EVPs, photographs of apparitions, all of that. It's extremely difficult to get any concrete proof of the paranormal whatsoever. So saying that Dan Rivera died of natural causes, okay, I'm glad that they didn't find any foul play, because a lot of people were thinking it was foul play. I'm very glad that it was not. But can we actually rule out that somehow the negative energy within this doll caused his early passing? I don't think we can. I don't honestly think we can. Now, the whole idea behind this doll being possessed was first proposed by the Warrens in 1971, or it may have been 1972, when they first took ownership of the doll from a nursing student whose mother had gifted her this doll. Now, it's a Raggedy Ann doll. Raggedy Ann was an extremely popular toy back in the late 60s, early 70s. One of my best friends had one, and we played with it all the time, and it never did anything bizarre, But evidently, this particular doll had issues, would move around the apartment on its own, would somehow manage to leave cryptic notes written in crayon. I personally don't believe that bit at all. The thing is, let's just say the doll did somehow move on its own. If you ever played with a Raggedy Ann doll, they're extremely floppy because it's like a stuffed toy. Now, I myself, as a kid, I would see my stuffed toys fall over and stuff. It was no big deal because I figured it's a stuffy. It's not going to remain in one position concretely, unlike, say, for instance, a Barbie doll, or back in the early 70s, another toy I had, the Chrissy doll, which I talk about in my other video here on my sister channel. Check that out when you're done with this one. Maybe the nursing student did see the doll kind of move, but, she also had a roommate. Who's to say the roommate wasn't messing with her and got up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom and thought, wouldn't it be funny if I moved this doll to another room, and then claimed that she went over in that room by herself? That's highly plausible. I mean, I've been to 3 colleges, okay? I've had roommates play tricks on me and prank me off and on over the years. And it was always, harmless, funny stuff. So something like this is highly probable, in my considered opinion. Okay, let's assume, for the sake of argument, that this was just a Raggedy Ann doll. There was nothing paranormal about this doll at all. But yet the Warrens took the girl's story seriously enough that they took ownership of that doll and housed it in their occult museum in a special case, blessed by a priest and doused in holy water and holy oils and who knows what all else, to keep the evil energy in that case, in that doll, so it couldn't harm anyone. Let's assume that that was just a Raggedy Ann doll. Nothing special about it, just a toy. However, over the years, with all the focus placed on that doll by people who not only visited the Warrens' occult museum, but Ed and Lorraine Warren themselves, every time they discussed the doll's story, because they would always discuss her on their tours, because again, that type of story, that's a major draw for people. That sells tickets to your lectures. And then we've got their daughter, Judy, who never wanted anything to do with the paranormal, despite having abilities herself like her mother, supposedly. And then her husband, Tony Sparrow, who's been longtime interest in the paranormal. You've got these people living there who are putting this focus on this object as though it's possessed. The people who come to visit also place that same focus on this object as if it's possessed. Over time, what can happen, the human mind is the most powerful tool any one of us possesses, okay? When we think of something, the whole idea behind manifestation is you think enough about something you desire, your thoughts can alter reality and bring this wish of yours into manifestation, okay? I can do a whole separate video on that, on how I've used it in my own life. If you'd like to see a video on manifestation, comment below, manifestation video ASAP, and I will get working on it immediately. So what I think went on with the Annabelle doll, my theory behind it is that it's what's called a tulpa. A tulpa comes to us from Indian mysticism, Indian as in the country India, not Native Americans. And a tulpa is basically a thought form. A thought form is a repeated collection of the same thought that gathers and magnifies energy until it has energy of its own. And then it can go out and do what you've asked it to do. So it is in a way like manifestation, but a tulpa takes on some type of a form. And I think that's what's gone on with Annabelle. I think Annabelle is a tulpa caused by repeated focus upon her as a possessed object. So then she becomes a repository for demonic, evil energies, which aren't specifically demonic and evil, but they are perceived as such, and so they affect others as such. That's my theory behind the Annabelle doll and what's going on with it. And so now, with the movies that have come out, and now with Matt Rife buying the property and being the caretaker for the next 5 years, you're going to have all this new focus on Annabelle. When you focus more and more on a tulpa, what happens? It becomes stronger and stronger and stronger until eventually the downside of developing a tulpa is it eventually becomes so strong that the original creator of the tulpa has zero control over it. Is that what we're going to see with Annabelle? A tulpa out of control? What do you think? You tell me. I don't know. It's just a question I'm just throwing out there. But I guess when it comes to Annabelle the doll and Matt Rife, only time will tell if the tulpa within that doll destroys Matt Rife's career. So, we shall wait and we shall see. This is Nefer Kefri. I thank you so much for watching. If you liked this video, I ask you to give a like, subscribe to my channel. I appreciate y'all so much, and I wish you a blessed day ahead.